Fox News alert: a Virginia teenager has just been sentenced to more than 11 years in prison for helping another teen travel to Syria to join ISIS. 17-year-old Ali Amin pleading guilty in June to conspiring to provide material support to terrorists. He essentially admitted to helping another teenager travel to Syria, as well as using Twitter to offer advice and encouragement for the Islamic State.
Quinnipiac just came out. You saw it, 28%, more than double, much more than double, second place, which I think was at 12%. That's pretty good. But the reason is we have a message, and the message is, and essentially, we're not going to take it anymore. We're just not going to take it anymore.
And the crowd starts tittering and cheering in the audience. Moments ago, we put up a Donald Trump that said D as in Democrat. Obviously, Donald Trump is a Republican, just to clear that up. Polling experts are throwing out the rule books when it comes to this man right now. His meteoric rise in the polls and the intensity of his support, leaving many pollsters kind of scratching their heads on what's going on out here. The latest national poll gives Trump 28%. Up from 20 in July. Big move over the course of the month as he turns all of the conventional wisdom about politics upside down, and he's loving every minute of it. Joined by Frank Luntz, pollster and Fox News contributor. Frank, good morning. Good to have you with us today.
I got to say, I'm loving every minute of it, because everything that we have assumed up to this point, everything that you would normally expect from voters and from candidates, has absolutely been thrown out the window. I like to say that not only is the rule book gone, but the replacement for the rule book is gone. Here's someone who did not guarantee that he would support the Republican nominee, someone who's used some very strong language on women, someone who talks about buying politicians, and yet he goes higher and higher and higher. Yeah. And I want to show you something. In today's New York Post, the lead story, take a look. They're even talking about Trump's hair. Who would have thought that, and maybe it's just because these are the dog days of summer, that the number one story for the New York Post would be Trump's hair. I know.
I mean, he's, at these forums, he's holding up newspapers going, see, I'm on the front of every newspaper in America. Can you believe it? And then he's reading he's obviously having a fantastic time. But I want to go back to that moment right after the Cleveland debate, because there was a feeling after that debate, and your focus group bore out, that he had sort of, gone over the edge, that his popularity was going to be on the decline after that. And here's what they told you the next day.
He's splitting the party. He's going to basically take the focus away from the candidate who's going to be leading.
If he runs as an independent, he's going to be basically handing the election to Hillary.
He's brought all the attention upon himself. He sucked the wind out of the room, and all he did was point at himself and have no solutions for anything.
I was repulsed by it.
He's a casino owner. He's a narcissist. He's a person who just panders to people.
A narcissist?
So at that moment in time, Frank, I think a lot of people across the country who had watched kind of felt the same way. But that is not what we're seeing in these numbers.
I felt the same way. And what you see in the polling, and it's important for people who are watching to know both sides of this, he is growing in support. This is a real candidacy. You now have to consider that he could be the Republican nominee. But there's another question that pollsters are asking, which is, which candidate would you not support? Which candidate absolutely could not win your vote? And Donald Trump is leading that part of it as well. Yeah. So what is happening is you're seeing people moving towards him, you're seeing people move against him, and it's 6 months before the first vote. And that's what's so remarkable. It feels like Election Day is coming up, and yet it is actually 18 months away.
There is such a long way to go in this. And, Frank, I don't think you're going to see these other candidates dropping out, because why should they until they figure out what's going to happen with Donald Trump? I mean, if he's either going to succeed or he's going to implode. I mean, those are the two possible scenarios, right? And if that happens, if he implodes, then, the chessboard gets thrown up in the air with all these other candidates. They figure out who's the next strongest one, right?
So let's give the statistics, and I haven't heard this discussed before. If Donald Trump is at 30% and you have 8 or 10 candidates in the race, then he's probably the nominee. But if it drops down to only 1 or 2 or 3 opponents, then that 30% isn't enough. So the real challenge for Trump is, how do you force people out of the race? Actually, there's really a challenge for the other candidates. How do you force people out of the race so it becomes a 1-to-1 vote? Because if it isn't, If you still have Bush and Rubio and Walker and Cruz and Paul and Christie and all of them, then Trump really has a genuine solid shot at this nomination.
Fascinating. And there he is, throwing the newspaper up in the air. Frank, thank you. We'll see you next time.
Thank you.